And there's this dark, shadowy figure that you feel is trying to harm you, and you can't move. I couldn't move, and I couldn't even scream. I would hear myself in my head kind of scream, in a sense, like as if I had tape over my mouth or my mouth was stitched up or something. I could not move. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't scream for help. And I didn't know what was about to happen. So it's like, it's worse than any horror movie I swear I've ever seen.
So find a way to.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the Lightworker community. My name is Monica, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about 5 ways to stop sleep paralysis. So I've debated doing this video for like over a year now, since the last time I had suffered from chronic sleep paralysis. But I haven't done it because I just have so many video ideas and it got kind of put on the back burner. I also didn't make this video until now because I personally don't know of anyone else who has suffered or experienced sleep paralysis. No one that I know right now in my life, or even people that I've known in the past. So it was something for me that was really hard to deal with, just going through the experience, but also feeling like I was alone in it because no one else knew what I was talking about or could relate or understand what I was going through. So it was kind of lonely and very scary, to be honest. And I remember even when I was trying to research it, at least here on YouTube, I couldn't find hardly any videos about it, like any information. I think I saw a couple, and they didn't really talk about like a personal experience, and they didn't talk about why it was happening. It just seemed like, especially like scientists are like, we have no idea why this is happening. So I want to talk about it from a spiritual perspective of what I believe is going on. And the reason why I decided to do it now is because I was talking to a friend who's been having these nightmares where she is in her room and, she feels like she's awake, but she's not. And she's about to be abducted, sort of, it seems like, from her room by some like dark entities or, I don't know, aliens. I can't remember if she's actually seen what they look like, but every time this happened, she would say an affirmation, like, you have no power over me, or something like that, and she would instantly like wake up. And she was telling me about this, and this has happened several times. It doesn't happen every night, but it's been happening periodically for her. So I told her yesterday, I was like, I think you're being psychically attacked. And the reason I say that is because I've been hearing a lot of stories like this recently around, the internet, that there's a lot of, I think especially light workers are being attacked right now. So I wanted to help give her some tools or some tips to hopefully prevent these nightmares from happening. And I'm going to share with you guys today some of those tips that I gave her. And if any of you are experiencing it or have experienced it, hopefully this will help you as well. So if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, or if you've never experienced it, I will tell you from my own personal experience. It's basically what it sounds like. It's where you're asleep and you feel like your body's paralyzed. Now, in a sense, your body is kind of paralyzed when you fall asleep. There's something, I can't remember what the term is, that typically keeps you from moving in your sleep. Now, we can still move and people can still sleepwalk, but generally it's so we don't hurt ourselves as we're actually physically moving in our dreams and, doing certain actions. But with sleep paralysis, what would happen is I would fall asleep and I wouldn't realize that I fell asleep, and I would wake up in a sense, where I remember one time I was in my bedroom, I was sleeping next to my husband, and in the dream the only thing I could move was my eyes. So I could look and see that my husband was laying next to me in the position he fell asleep in. And I could see my body in the position that I fell asleep in. And I could see the entire bedroom that I was in. And what would happen is there would be this dark, shadowy figure. I couldn't make out what it was. But when I would see it, I would feel so much fear. Because if you haven't been through this, if you can only imagine, you're asleep in your room, you're already vulnerable if you're asleep. You didn't even realize you fell asleep. So right now you are so certain you're awake because you can see everything in the room and the people and the objects all exactly as they were. And there's this dark, shadowy figure that you feel is trying to harm you. And you can't move. I couldn't move and I couldn't even scream. I would hear myself in my head kind of scream in a sense, like as if I had tape over my mouth or my mouth was stitched up or something. I could not move. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't scream for help. And I didn't know what was about to happen. So it's like, it's worse than any horror movie I swear I've ever seen, and even more scary than some of the most traumatic events that have happened in my personal life. It's so terrible. I would not wish it on anyone. So anyways, I would just keep squirming or feel like I'm trying to squirm. I'm just trying to move. I'm trying to scream. I can't do any of it. And the shadowy figure is just getting closer and closer and closer. And then usually at some point I just wake up. And I wake up in, like a cold sweat and a panic, like my heart's racing. When I wake up, I look over and again, everything's the same. My husband's still there in his same position. Everything in the room is still the same. And I can't figure out what happened. And then the other form of sleep paralysis that I would experience was pretty much the exact same thing, except for I would feel like an elephant, as I've heard other people describe it, sitting on my chest. Like something just like something that weighs like a ton is just sitting on my chest, and I can't get up and I can't move and I can't scream again. When this was happening, as I mentioned, it was like over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years now. I was experiencing this chronically, and when I say chronically, I mean I was experiencing this every single night that I was falling asleep. And not only every single night, but also anytime I would take a nap, or if I was just like sitting and meditating, I would fall asleep. Because I remember at that time I was really stressed out at work. So what I would do is I would wake up an hour early before I would normally wake up, and I would meditate for an hour. But because it was so early and I'm not a morning person, I would fall asleep pretty much every time during that meditation. And so I remember being in the living room, not realizing I fell asleep, sitting on the couch meditating, and then all of a sudden I see all of these dark and shadowy figures just flying by my head, flying around the room. And I was so scared. And once again, I couldn't move. I was paralyzed, and I couldn't say or scream or do anything. So by this point, I was absolutely terrified anytime I closed my eyes and knew that I might fall asleep. And I would do almost anything to keep myself awake. So finally, after doing the research and not really finding anything, I came up with 5 things that I did every night for 7 days. And that actually stopped the sleep paralysis since then. Like I said, it's been almost 2 years. And I also just want to give you my perspective or my own personal thoughts and beliefs on why we experience sleep paralysis from a spiritual perspective. And after thinking about it, I feel like what it is, in a way, let's see, how can I explain this? I believe there's a statistic from science that says that the human eye can only see, I want to say it's 1% of everything in the light spectrum. So there's like 99% of what we can't see or perceive that's around us. And that's why I think it's so cool when people are able to tap into their psychic abilities, especially people who are clairvoyant, who can see things that other people can't see. Because I believe that there are tons of like spirits and other beings and things that are around us all the time, every day, that we just aren't picking up. And just because we aren't picking them up, we can't see them or we can't hear them doesn't mean that they're not there. So what I think what was happening to me in particular is I was at a very low point in my life during this time. Like, I was super depressed and I was very, very unhappy. This was the time where I was working a job that was not serving me in any way. It was a terrible job for an empath, and I was dealing with tons of people every day who were going through a difficult time. And I was working in the legal system, and the legal system tends to be very cold and emotionless and heartless in certain situations because they have to remain so neutral about what's going on in cases. And I was an assistant, and I just can't be that way. I am too emotional, I am too sensitive, I am too feeling. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I actually find those to be superpowers if I use them the right way. And being an empath does not mean I'm like weak or anything like that. It just means that that was not the type of job situation I needed to be in. It was a very negative, draining energy for me. And I believe as light workers, such as myself, we tend to get psychically attacked in our dreams, especially, and I think also with sleep paralysis. Because when our energy gets so low and we vibrate on a very low level, as in depression and sadness and all of those things that I was experiencing at that time, it is easier for negative, dark entities to attack us, to get at us, to get into our aura, our energy field, especially when we're asleep. And it feels so strange for the dream to be where we're like aware of what's going on in the actual physical environment, but our body isn't responding to it, but our mind is awake, and we can see what is going on. And I think we're able to see what's going on those other dimensions and the levels that are overlaid in what we can physically see with our human eye in the 3D world. So we're not seeing those spirits, like I said, and those entities and everything that's around us. But when we're in a different, I don't know if it's theta, beta, alpha, whatever state it is when we're asleep, it's easier for us to perceive it. And maybe it's more of like our astral body is awake. So like when we sleep, our astral body floats away and goes to other higher dimensions, typically, and interacts in that dream world. But when we have sleep paralysis, I think it's like our astral body is awake and aware, but our physical body is actually asleep. And so that's why we can't move, and that's why we can't say anything. I really believe this video might be helpful for at least one person, maybe some people, whoever finds this video, because people are, especially light workers, are getting psychically attacked on different levels right now during this time, with the ascension, with there being more light on the planet right now, with the negative dark entities getting very scared. They don't want us to be able to do our light work and anchor in the light on the planet and to show what's going on. They don't want us to shine light on the darkness, because that's how they operate, that's how they get away with things, is by operating anonymously in the dark. And we're exposing them with everything that is going on in the world that most people who are asleep are not aware of. Like, we came down here as light warriors to fight in this battle that is spiritual. World War III is a spiritual battle. It is not physical. And as scary as it may be, we do get attacked on, the spiritual level. So I believe this is the time to really utilize all of your spiritual tools. If you are already a very highly spiritual person and you've been on your path and you have your spiritual practices for a long time, and you're more advanced, then these tips are going to seem very obvious. But if you're kind of just starting, or maybe not as aware of the spiritual tools, this may actually be helpful for you. So I think I've talked long enough. Let's get into what they are. I'm not going to say these in any particular order since I did them all at once, but we'll start with the first way I help to stop my sleep paralysis. And I say the word stop because instead of cure, because it could come back, you know, it could happen again if I get into a very, very low point. I haven't been as low as I was at that point when this was happening since then, even though I'm not always super high vibe, but I'm not like super low vibe. So it may not be a permanent cure, but you can use these tools and these tips anytime you experience sleep paralysis. So the first way is by using crystals. Crystals are one of the most popular tools in the spiritual community. I, in fact, am wearing a few right now. This is a crystal that I think is called like malachite. I don't remember all the spiritual properties, but I thought it was really pretty. So I got that. And then I'm wearing rose quartz that a friend gave me a few years ago. And then this is a relatively new bracelet. This is by the Elizabeth April collection. She has these bracelets where you can do a quiz and see what your star family is or where you're from, your star origins. So she has like Palladian, Arcturian, I can't think of all of them, Mantis, Gray. And for mine, I got Angel, so that's what I'm wearing. And the bracelet itself is, I believe, Howlite and Mother of Pearl. Crystals are naturally of a high vibration, and there's like so many of them. When I was going through the sleep paralysis and I was using crystals, I only had maybe like 6 or 7. I've grown my collection since then, even though I don't have a ton. And at the time, I was sleeping with them under my pillow. And now I have them on a side table next to where I sleep. But when I was doing this practice, it was under my pillow, and I heard you can program them. So I did just say to all of them, I'm like, thank you so much for protecting me from any dark entities. And I've also heard that it's not good to program them, so maybe you want to do your own research on that. I didn't hear that at the time. So I did set the intention with my crystals to protect me from anything negative. And since then, I have recently gotten this, which is not, I guess, technically a crystal. It's called an orgone pyramid. And these are supposed to be really good for purifying, I think, like energy. And I actually have the card still, so I'll read you a few of the things it says it's good for. It says it's good for turning negative energy into positive energy. It inspires a pleasant demeanor and balanced, happier moods. And it frequently remedies insomnia and chronic nightmares. So these things are really good, but what you have to remember is you have to clear and charge your crystals, especially these, because they pick up, I think, a lot of negative energy. I'm not so good about this, so I have to remind myself. But there are many ways that you can clear and charge them. Some ways that I've done it is you put your crystals in the sunlight, maybe for a few hours. You could put them outside overnight when there's a full moon. That'll definitely charge them. You can put them in water with pure salt. And if you live near like rivers, lakes, streams, beaches, any natural body of water will cleanse and charge them as well. You can also use sage, and you could clear them with intention or with a crystal called selenite. Selenite, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I have a selenite wand that's like one long white crystal that doesn't need to be clear or charged, but it does help clear other crystals of any energy that they've picked up. And another tip with the crystals, I actually didn't do this at the time because I didn't know about it until recently, but what I've heard is you can make a crystal protection grid and put one crystal in each corner of your bedroom. And of course, again, make sure they're cleansed and charged first. But the best ones that supposedly work are protection crystals, such as black crystals, and those include crystals like black tourmaline, black obsidian, and smoky quartz, etc. You can also do a quick Google search to see the top protective crystals and what their qualities are for that. The second way that I helped stop my sleep paralysis, I actually kind of touched on it in the last tip, was sage. White sage. This one I've had for a long time. But the best way to use it to clear negative energy and how I used it was I opened the windows in all of the house. You can do this in all of the house, or you could do this in the bedroom if you just want to do it in that one room. But I did the whole house, and I lit my sage. I don't have one of those little like abalone shells or whatever to help catch any falling ash, so you may want to do that if you want to be extra careful. But you go around the entire house and you take the sage while it's lit and it's smoking. So first you light it and then you blow it out, and then with the smoke you take it around the entire house or the bedroom, and you set the intention to clear out all negative energy within the house. And having the windows open is supposed to help let the negative energy exit out of the home. And this brings the new, clean, recharged energy into the home. So I would sage not only my entire house, but I also saged my entire body. And just be very careful when you're doing this so you don't burn yourself. But I would usually start from like my feet and work up to like the top of my head, to like my third eye, my crown chakra, all that good stuff. Also just setting the intention to clear out all the negative energy that I had picked up from that day. So there is the white sage. I also have this thing. I don't know what this is exactly. I don't think it's obviously not white sage, but it's supposed to do the same thing for smudging. And then I also have these Palo Santo, I think they're called. Palo Santo sticks. But I've heard that these are getting rare, like they're going extinct, the tree. So if that's true, I would recommend the white sage or something else, but you can also do your research on that as well. So the third way I stopped my sleep paralysis was by envisioning white, pure light around my entire body and also around my bed. And this is something that's also very popular in the spiritual community, but I added another layer to that in a way. This is something a friend taught me. But what I did was first I imagined pure light going through my entire body and being around me in the bed. And then after the white light, I imagined all the colors of the chakra, so like the rainbow. So then I would envision a red light, an orange light, a yellow, a green, a blue, a purple. And then I would just imagine that for like a minute or so, and then I would, let that go. And that's pretty much the whole exercise. It's super easy. Anytime you're feeling stressed or you feel like you need to cleanse your chakras or cleanse any negative energy, this is something you can do anywhere at any time. Even silently at work, you can just imagine the pure white light. So the fourth way that I stopped my sleep paralysis was by utilizing my angels, my archangels, and my spirit guides. I asked them for help to protect me every night when I went to sleep.
Angels are here to guide and protect us, but they cannot impede on our free will, which means if we want their help with something, we have to ask for it specifically.
So the dark entities, maybe some people would call them demons. I just refer to them as dark entities, but you could definitely refer to them as demons. And even though I'm not religious, I do believe in angels. I believe that we all have our own personal team of angels and spirit guides and also archangels that protect us. And there's different angels for different things, different areas of our life that they can help us with. And I actually just had an angel session not too long ago for the first time. And it turns out I have a lot of angels. Like I think we have at least 3 guardian ones. But when I had my reading, the person I had it with said I had 6 archangels, which was more than she's ever seen in the entire time that she's been doing this, which I think it's been like almost 15 years. So what she told me is I am very, very protected and very guided, and she helped me connect more with them. So a lot of times we get very frustrated with not being able to see our angels or be able to hear our angels. We think that that's the only ways that we can connect with them. But your angels are always sending you signs, and it's just up to us to pay attention. So a lot of times you'll see angel numbers or synchronized numbers such as 111, 222, 333. And I actually see 444, probably the most out of all the synchronized numbers I've been seeing since my spiritual awakening, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, whenever it happened. I see it almost every day on the clock, and I see it a lot on license plates. And actually just yesterday I noticed a license plate with 444. And 444 specifically relates to angels, saying that your angels are around you and they're protecting you and guiding you. So basically every night I would just say, I guess you could say a prayer. I would just be like, I'm reaching out to all my angels, all my archangels, all the spirit guides, all the higher positive dimensions out there, anyone who can help. I ask that you please protect me when I fall asleep from any negative entities, and to please surround me with love and light. And that was basically it for that. And I also forgot to mention that a lot of people will see feathers in weird places, such as a place where there might not be like a lot of birds, or just randomly in their house. And seeing feathers is supposed to be a sign of your spirit guides being nearby and communicating with you and just being like, hey, we're here. So remember that the next time you see a feather. All right, the fifth and final way that I stopped my sleep paralysis was by changing the situation I was in that was bringing me down and depressing me. And this was the root of why I was in such a low vibration and I was so depressed and just kind of hating life at the time. And that was with the job I was working that was very negative and very draining for me. Eventually, I just had to leave that job and get out of that situation. And that ultimately brought up my vibration so much. And I was so much happier. And I literally have not had any sleep paralysis dreams since getting out of the job and doing all of the other tips for those 7 days straight. And I think by leaving that negative job and situation is what helped the sleep paralysis not to keep coming back over and over. So that's ultimately what I think what needs to happen if you're experiencing this, is to figure out what is maybe draining you or bringing you down, or what's influencing you to be sad or angry or depressed, or whatever you might be going through, if you're going through a similar situation like I did. All right, everyone, that is my video for today. Like I said, hopefully it is helpful for someone, because sleep paralysis sucks and nobody wants to go through it. And I will also link down below where I got my crystal jewelry. I got it from Lily Rose Jewelry, I believe is what it's called, in case anyone's interested in buying some crystals that they can wear. I have a lot that are not jewelry that I started buying in the past, and lately I've really gotten into actually wearing them because I want to feel protected all the time. So in this video and the last few videos, I've been wearing some of the crystal jewelry that I bought. So I'll just link that down below if anybody's interested, because I know some people may be like, oh, I really want crystals, but I don't have a crystal shop around me, or I don't know where to go. I don't have access to them. And as nice as it is to be able to just walk into a shop and intuitively pick whatever crystal calls to you, if you don't have that opportunity, then it is, fairly easy to just order them online, and you can read about their properties and see what might fit you best. As always, until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.